Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm marginally distracted. I'm Abby Haggard, and this is my tiny corner of the world where all is peaceful and all is quiet because the drilling hasn't started. For those of you just joining me, asking yourselves, who is she and why does she have the costume from You Can't Do That on Television? And what is going on? And what drilling? I know, imagine how I feel, and I'm the one in it. So before I begin, a long time ago in a far off land, there was a king who had a beautiful daughter, the princess, who ended up appearing as mom on You Can't Do That on Television and voiced three of the original Care Bears, among other things. After lunch, she got busier. And it was a big, great kerfuffle of busyness, in show busyness in the 80s, for a number of reasons. One was a rather unstable economic situation south of our border. I'm in Canada. And projects that had been greenlit had to be produced someplace. And so they came to us. And as a result, we were all very busy. And then of course there's an ebb and a flow. You know, all the shows are done, they go away, and then you have to go and find something else to keep you busy and pay the rent. And in that process, especially in Canada, we become people who can find more than one way to apply our skill. And a long time ago, as a military kid, I realized every time we got transferred that thing we do, that thing that we do that we're known for, it doesn't really matter what the job is, who we work for, where it is. It turns out that thing that we do that we're known for is transferable. We can take that skill and shape it, shift it a little bit, and apply it in almost any scenario. It sometimes does take a fair amount of rejigging because times change and priorities change, and we get advances in technology that put prior technologies to rest. But what we bring, within what we bring, is something essential. And we forget that all the time. Lose a job, what will I do? Where will I go? Because we're focused on what it said we were. Head of marketing, chief end table, whatever, door opener, door closer, door greeter. It doesn't matter where we did it. What matters is that we did it and how well. So this is part of the mentoring work that I began quite a few years ago now, with business owners, people who had hit crossroads and wanted to write or rewrite the brand story, the origin story. They wanted to be able to reinvent essential parts of them without losing their audience, without upsetting people. Because when you rebrand, the people who loved your brand feel like you broke up with them and they didn't do anything. I loved them. Why did they leave? And so the trick is to rebrand from within and shift the wording very gradually. And in fact, I'm in the process of doing that now. For a very long time, people who knew who I was for a couple of things, performance mostly. They didn't know about the books. They didn't know about the coaching. They didn't know about the strategic direction finding skills that I shared with people in corporate and in commercial. They didn't know about that because why would they? They were focused on what was most easily visible. So when the bottom fell out of those shows, it gave me the opportunity to go away, give it enough time, and then come back saying, it's still me. Here I am, still the same. I still fall through doorways. However, I've also got this, and I've been doing it a while. You want to check it out? And these conversations, these twice weekly conversations, are part of that. Because now, thanks to something called Restream, I'm broadcasting live from a hub, and I'm being seen and chatted with, good morning, everybody, being chatted with by people who are following on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and LinkedIn. I'm going to try and figure out how to get on Blue Sky next, but maybe after lunch on a less busy day. So the conversation today that dovetails into this pointer that our essential Shazam, whatever that is always transferable. We are never not essential for our Shazam. We are always in demand. The only thing we must do is let people know where to find us, how it serves them. That's the thing we forget. If we don't realize it's transferable, then we also forget that we have to remind people, because if we've shifted, if that show's not on anymore, people think there's nothing to watch. We have to say, sure, we're over here. And it's fairly simple as long as you know it, and as long as you have that pattern of behavior well entrenched. And my work is showing you how to plant it, is showing you how to nurture it and grow it and enrich the soil. So I've got kind of a dry throat. I'm going to take a sip, and then I want to tell you two things before we launch in. The first thing I want to tell you is that the person who invented the first hot beverage must have walked around feeling really clever for a long time. That's amazing. So first thing I want to tell you is that next week, they're going to redo all the floors outside the apartments, so in the hallways. And what that involves is removing the marble tiling. And they don't have a whisper tool that does that. The tool they use sounds like they're trying to break in a vault. They're at the wrong door for Fort Knox, but they don't know that yet. And so they're doing the floor above me and my floor and the floor below me next week. Now they only work from 8 until 5:30. So it's only loud from hell from 8 until 5:30, which brings me to what on earth am I going to do with my videos next Tuesday and Thursday? So this is what I said to myself. I'm going to try something. I'm going to let you know this way. And then I'm going to post it on my social media platforms to remind. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the videos at 6 p.m. instead of 10 a.m. New York time. I'm going to do them this coming Tuesday, the 6th, and Thursday, the 8th of May. I'm looking up at my calendar. I'm going to do my videos at 6 p.m. New York time instead of in the morning. I could try to do them before the work starts at 8 a.m. But if you had any idea, the reason I didn't last in morning drive radio is that I had to keep getting up at what time is it? I did it for the first week, and then they said, so we'll see you Monday. And I thought, oh, God, okay. So I want to be sharp, and I want to be helpful, and I want this to be something interesting. And I've had a lot of people say to me, have you thought of doing it in the evenings? And I have thought of doing it in the evenings, but usually the evenings are full of things because I've been working all day. So we're going to try it. So I'll remind you at the end of this video. And the second thing I want to say is that I tripped and stumbled sideways into somebody a few weeks back who I've known for ages, not in the work I do or have done, but in the entertainment field. Separate and yet similar. Huge reach, witty, smart, quick, popular, successful. And I said, you know, I want to talk to you about something. And this person said, really, I'm all ears. And so we had a bit of a chat. And then we had another bit of a chat. And then we had another bit of a chat. And next week sometime we're going to have another bit of a chat because this person thinks there might be something possible as a tag team. That's what I thought when I turned around and saw them standing there. And gradually, as I'm saying to them this, and don't forget that, gradually the responses are, that's not a bad point. And so I may have news to announce, which would be amazing. I'm not gonna say anything more about it. I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to blow it, and I don't want to say something that hasn't been confirmed. So, but I'm just telling you that when I smile that certain smile, you know I'm up to something, and I'm up to something. So, so I've told you about the drilling, and I've told you about the maybe a surprise. Now, what I want to do, enough is said, is I want to talk about today's topic. Does it still count when I phone it in? When we don't show up? Are we graded? Does it make a difference when we're not there compared to when we are? That's the question. Because a lot of people are phoning stuff in. A lot of people are struggling with something I call overwhelm. Overwhelm to me, not overwhelmed, overwhelm. To me, overwhelm is a combination of confusion and exhaustion. And the one feeds the other. It's a twisted kind of symbiotic relationship. For quite a while, until a conversation yesterday with one of my very wise friends, for quite a while, I was putting this overwhelm down to the lingering effects of the pandemic, the lingering effects of imposed self-isolation for 3 years, with no instruction booklet, with no set of clear, concise rules consistently provided every day. I thought that what I was witnessing were people unable to cope because they'd never learned to cope that way. They were not familiar. We all learn by imitation. You know, somebody teaches us how to get food off the plate onto something and into our mouths mostly, and we rinse and repeat, and eventually we can do it ourselves. They teach us how to tie our shoes. They teach us how to walk up and down stairs. They teach us to do all these things, and we learn by watching them and imitating them. It's called mirroring. Okay, if we don't have anybody mirroring how to self-isolate, and we weren't raised in a hermit colony, we don't know what to do, because the way we replace a habit is with a different habit. That's the easy way. Cold turkey is not simply stop that, it's substitute that instantly, no dragging on. Instantly do not smoke. Instead, chew on a pencil. Instead, worry beads. Instead, and instantly, immediately, there are no cigarettes. There are the worry beads. There are the pencils. There is chewing gum. There are chin muscle exercises that remove your double chin and your jowl thing. So practice those so that not only do you save money from quitting smoking, but you look younger. Ta-da! So this is how it always works. When we are suddenly robbed of a habit, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to fill the void with. And nature hates a vacuum. So the only thing it can do instead, the only thing our subconscious can do instead, is sink into worry and anxiety and rage. And those are all very high energy emotions. So we're exhausted and we're still confused, and that makes us overwhelmed. That's basically the Dr. Haggard's home diagnostic here on how people have felt. However, conversation the other night with somebody. And I realized that that was probably only part of the iceberg tip. Probably there are a couple of other ingredients, and the fact that they all came into being at roughly the same time was huge. See, one of the things that was a precursor to the popularity of my television show in the 80s was the phenomenon known as the latchkey kid syndrome. All of a sudden, in the 70s and 80s, both parents were working. Kids went to school with the house key on a ribbon around their neck, string around their neck. They let themselves in. They made themselves a snack, and they turned on the television, and it babysat them while they did or pretended to do their homework until the decision makers came home. All these kids set adrift, turning on the television and seeing a show called You Can't Do That on Television, seeing the Care Bears, seeing Teddy Ruxpin, seeing For Better For Worse, are suddenly watching television geared specifically to them, targeting them, and not over the top yelling, but talking to them through kids, through situations exactly like them. Kids who felt set adrift, kids who are just exhausted by the stupid parents. Good morning, Daniel. How wonderful to see you. So one triggered the other. And 'twas ever thus, you know, when you have the invention of the automobile and the improvement of roads, then you no longer need as many blacksmiths shoeing as many horses. What does that guy do? He transfers his essential skill to another service. And all of a sudden you saw beautiful wrought iron gates around beautiful homes. Ta-da. So the way they succeeded was by showing up and shifting up. The way they succeeded when one market closed and another opened was by bringing their best essential skill and using their brains and the rent coming due to motivate them, to guide them, to adapt on the fly in order to survive. So the question today, when we don't show up, does it still count? Sure it does. It counts three ways. There's always three things going on. There's us going on. There's the thing going on. And there's the people connected to the thing going on. So there are three circles of influence that are shoved off kilter, set aside when we don't show up. If I don't bring the nail, the guy with the hammer is out of luck. If he can't put the nail where it's supposed to go, then where it's supposed to go remains unfixed, and the person waiting for it can't move forward, right? Because I didn't bring the nail. Am I fired? Maybe. Maybe. Is the job delayed? Maybe. Does the owner of the business lose a customer? Maybe. Does the customer who was waiting for the repair miss his opportunity? Maybe. So if I didn't show up, did it count? You bet. Because ripple effects have an interesting quality about them. One stone, blunk, ripple, ripple, ripple. Okay, another stone, blunk, ripple, 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 and the ripples intersect. Three of them, three stones, and you have turbulence. You don't have smooth sailing. You don't have peace of mind. You don't have productivity. You don't have profitability. You don't have quality of life. So the quick answer is, does it still count? Everything counts. Because if you don't bring the energy, you don't get the matter. So I want to tell you a couple of stories that relate, that help you illustrate. So, and who I'm speaking to today, I am speaking to everyone, really, who's had to make a decision and then had to make a sudden frantic substitute decision because somebody didn't show up. Somebody didn't even phone it in. And now there's frantic tap dancing. So the first story I want to tell is about my days as a bartender. Curiously, I was thinking about that when I was coming up with the stories to illustrate what I'm talking about today. This event I went to a few weeks ago, when I bumped into my famous friend, standing right beside was the man I bartended with before show business. Which is a few weeks back. I turned and I'm looking. He's got this big grin, and he said, "I'll have 2 pina coladas, no ice." And I said, "What the hell are you doing here?" He said, "Making your day, darling." Yes, you did. So this story relates to that place where that man and I used to work. I came into work one day, and one of the little waitresses, little because she was like 4'8", and she had a voice like this, like not quite entirely there, right? It's just very small, weighed about 9 pounds, turn her sideways, she doesn't get wet in the rain, right? This tiny little thing. And I'm looking at the schedule for the week, and she says, "Oh, is that the new schedule?" I said, "Yeah." And I looked for her name and I said, "Oh, we're on the same shifts. We're working thing, and thing. Cool." And she said, "I don't want to know when I'm working. I want to know when I'm off." See, if you know when you're working, I said, "Well," and she said, "Yeah, but when, oh, so, oh, okay," and walked away. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to know when I'm working. I want to know when I'm not. Well, you could quit, and then that would be full time, wouldn't it? She didn't want to actually be there. She just wanted the benefit of having been there. She, she walked away. I'm holding the schedule. I turned to look at the manager, and he's looking at me, and he says, "Welcome to my life." So I'm so sorry. And he said, every day, really, every day." He walks off sighing. And, and the so that's the first story. And in case you don't believe me, I can go and dig up that guy because he's in Ottawa now. He moved back. I can dig him up and he will verify. I can probably even find the manager. He probably has white hair now. Poor man. And here's the other story. The other story, and this is all about, if I don't show up, does it count? Well, what do you think? If you don't show up, what else were you doing? If we expected you to show up, what do you think we were doing? I don't know. I don't care. All right, then don't show up. Quit. Better yet, here, slam. Later. You you have to put something in order to take something out. It's what is that called? It's a reciprocity. So here's the other story. And when I read it, it was a post on social media a couple of days ago, and I read it, and I smiled the smile of familiar exhaustion. A very, very clever, lovely friend of mine is a chef and an out of the box thinker, popular, just an amazing guy. And I ran into him one day, and I managed to convince him that he needed to be part of a Christmas project that I had been working on for a couple of decades, that we had lost Santa and we needed a Santa, and that he was the ideal guy. And he said, "Do you have any idea how busy I am?" And I said, "Yeah. Do you have any idea how valuable your presence at this event on a 1 day a year basis is to the recognition factor, not merely among your current clients, but their children and the whole?" And he blinked at me and he said, "Where do I get the costume?" And I said, "Good plan." So, and we had several really great roll your eyes, can you believe it stories. The first time somebody cried, a grown person cried seeing Santa coming. He turned and looked at me, and I told you. And it changed a lot of things. Changed a lot of things for him. Changed a lot of things in the community, because they already knew him, they already loved him, they already admired and appreciated him, and now he was able to take all of it, all of his invested decades of giving to the community, into that whole other realm of goodness and yumminess, huggable. And it's a decision that you make, and you can't phone it in. You can't show up and sit on a wagon and say, "Yeah, whatever," when a little kid comes to you and says, "Hi, Mrs. Claus." You can't say, "Get away from me." At least not out loud. But if they come running at you with a sloppy cup of hot chocolate, you can say, "Sweetheart, no, over there, over there." You don't want to hurt them, because this is their fantasy, and this is their innocence time. And when you decide to climb in on that, you got to climb in with both feet and all the reindeer. No ifs, ands, or buts. Because you know what? It's a day. Hang around. We got 364 or 5 of them still to come. So this story is not about how we both climbed in with both feet and all the reindeer. Although watching his reaction, watching his eyes assessing, and him just kind of giving me a side glance, and me waggling an eyebrow, and him saying into his beard, "Got it, brilliant." And then we took our break to have take your shoes off and rest for a minute, and he said, "Thank you for this. This is," and I said, "I know, there's no word for it. It just," anyway. He posted the other day that he had been approached by someone, much as have many of us. "Hi, I'm a huge fan. I want to hire you to teach me all your tricks so I can be just like you." Sounds pretty awesome on the face of it, doesn't it? I've received that call a couple of times. And so you say, "Well, how lovely of you, and let's discuss it. What's your budget?" And that's when you first realize that this train is going off the rails, because they hadn't really considered that they would pay you. They sort of thought it was an osmotic thing, that they could just stand next to you and it would rub off. And and in my first phone call, when it happened to me, I said, "So you realize that you can't just automatically be me?" And the person said, "Why not? Looks easy enough when you do it." Oh, didn't see that one coming. I mean, what's it going to take? A couple of weeks? and they had no clue that they were being relatively condescending. And I said, no, it would have taken a lot longer than that. What do you mean? And I said, well, there isn't room for two of me. And the reply to that was, well, you're getting on. People are getting tired of you. Maybe it's time for a new one. I have to go now. So my fabulous friend had that phone call. And when he quoted his time to be invested, tools required, and budget, the response that he got was, so can I get the cheap shortcut version of that? As a man who has devoted 40 years to his craft, can I get the cheap shortcut version of that? No. Write this down. TikTok. And then it was over. And so what he was posting on Facebook was, the audacity, the insult, what were they thinking? How could they? So I sent a public thing because I wanted other people to see that what he had just experienced is a product of something very, very interesting. And it's this. And it's for all of us who don't phone it in. It's for all of us who put in the time, pay the dues, show up, rain or shine, drilling or not. It's this. When you do it well and it appears flawless, it also appears effortless. It appears as though no other way was possible. It appears that this is the natural evolution. It appears that we are uniquely suited to do it because it just comes together right in front of us. And that's as it should be. The famous conversation, fictional, I'm assuming, between the sculptor, artist, painter, Michelangelo, and a curious art aficionado who says, would you tell me your process in creating your famous rearing stallion? And Michelangelo is said to have replied, I start with a block of marble and a chisel, and I chip away everything that isn't the horse. And I love that so much because it's so clear. You can see it animated. This, in one of the early lovely old-fashioned cartoons where the rest of the marble just kind of, vaporizes and the horse becomes clearer in focus. In fact, what he's saying, in case it isn't clear enough, is that the vision begins in here. And the execution is achieved through here. And our vision and our passion and our meticulous practice give us the skill, give us the purpose, and give us the goal. There is no phoning it in. I have this notebook. My current notebook, they're always this size, and it's full of random notes I jot. I have it beside the computer. When I'm in the living room watching television, I have it beside me. When I'm in the kitchen cooking, I have it on the counter. When I go to bed, I have it beside the bed. Why? Because at any moment, an idea, bink, and I want to grab it before it's like a firefly, piff, on, gone. And I write it down. I go through 2 of these books at least every year, and I never throw them away because ideas are gold. Ideas are priceless. We never know when the germ of something, and we see it a year later, we say, oh, there, oh, even better than the one I tried to think of now. Capturing our imagination, capturing our vision, capturing our spontaneous excitement for something that has just poofed itself into existence in front of us is so electrifying. Even if I don't do it now, even if I don't immediately set to work to make it, turn it into reality, it's there. And every time I look at it, I think that is so cool. I can't wait. I can't wait for the moment when it's ready to show the rest of itself to me. And then I figure out what kind of format to put it in. That is not for everybody. That just happens to be my format. It's instead of journaling. I don't write about how I spent my summer vacation. And I don't really put my thoughts and feelings about the day into words. I do write my intention. I do write gratitude, and I do acknowledge the very specific things on top of the gratitude for being here, really, given that I almost died when I was in my teens. I'm very grateful for every day. And what I see in people who choose to barely show up, to barely phone it in, to barely bother to turn their heads and face the right way, I see the product of that in, it's okay, I guess. There is no excitement in their lives. There is no anticipation in their lives. They're never really hungry. They're never really entirely full. They don't really care that much whether they're sitting in this chair or that one. They choose that one most of the time because that's where they left the remote. As soon as they can, they figure out how to quit the job. Because, I don't know, the job didn't really inspire me. Because somewhere along the way, they came to the conclusion that it was the job's job to inspire them, not their own internal drive to thrive. Our internal drive to thrive is one step up from survive. It's one step up from eking through the day. Drive to thrive is celebrating that thing that we do. And one of the things that is so important in this project that is unfolding, in this Pivotry in motion concept, a pivot is a hard turn. Pivotry is the ability that we have to choose to do that. You gotta think it and choose it before you use it. Pivotry is that skill. And the underlying driver in all of this, why should I bother? I'm okay, it's not that bad. The answer to that is, you may be fine, but let me leave this thought with you. There is a way back from broken. Whatever broke you, there is a way back. Let me know when you want to know what it is. Because I do. How do I know? I've walked it. I coach it. I talk it. I entertain with it. I engage with it. And through these videos and through the books that I'm gradually evolving and writing since I had all that time at home in COVID, I'm creating community. I'm creating conversations. I am giving people permission. I'm inviting them to walk in step with me so that together, the strength we have together can lighten the load they're carrying. So we're never meant to carry it all by ourselves. So this project, I'm directing it mostly toward people who have a lot of burdens, who have a lot of responsibility, who have a lot of people relying on them. And those people are dealing with chronic overwhelm. They can't take a break, so they never get better. It becomes a systemic flaw. There is a fix. It's not that I discovered it. It's that I figured out how to adapt it. I figured out how to coach it, mentor it, teach it, train it, publish it, produce it. And it has taken me all this time, 3 years when you couldn't do anything, and then a year and a half being the sidekick, escorting somebody to their threshold, their final threshold. Worth it every minute. Show up every second. Did I learn something? Oh yeah. Is it in the training? Oh yeah. So what I want to leave you with today is two things. I'm going to give you a hack in a minute, but I want to explain something to you. When we put on our executive hat, our chief executive hat, because we're us, and then we're sister, brother, mother, father, aunt, uncle, cousin, and then we are neighbor, and then we are friend, and then we are colleague, and then we are client, and then we are entrepreneur. If anything happens to us here at the root, every other layer of us is compromised. Every other layer of us is another vehicle, another person showing up that other people count on. If I can't show up, none of the rest of me can show up. If I don't show up, does it still count? Yes. How do I get back from broken? Let's talk about it. That's what this is all about. That's what all the videos are about. That's what the laughter's about, the sharing's about, the stories are about. There is a way back from broken. I found it. Would you like me to show you where yours is? That's the plan. So that's the summary that I wanted to leave with you today. And here's the hack. If I don't show up today, who does? It's a simple question. If I don't show up today, who does? Who shows up for me? Do I place a call and say I can't make it? If I show up in body but not in spirit and energy, who does? Who steps in for me? Who makes sure that the spelling is correct? Who makes sure that the paper is filed with the right department? Who makes sure that we bought the right ingredients for the recipe if I don't show up? Who helps us reach the end game if I'm not there to shepherd it? Simple question. If I don't show up, who does? If you can't think of the answer, then you know the answer to the question. If I don't show up, does it count? If you can't identify your viable replacement in a word, you know the answer. You know that you are needed. You know that you are heard, seen, and valued by others. If you are heard, seen, and valued by others, if you perform an essential function, no matter how small, When do you think it's the right time for you to show up for you? Because we all miss you. We all need you. We all value you. And never forget it. When people are cranky and people are kvetching and sniping, they're scared. They're lost. They feel abandoned. They feel that no one cares because all the people they counted on didn't show up. And they feel set adrift, rudderless, with no compass. What happens when we do show up? We do show that we care. We do tell people, I miss you when you're not here. Want to know what happens? Try it. Find out. Let me know. Okay. I have to leave you and love you a little early today. I have some frantic errands to run. Remember, as I said at the beginning, I said I was going to remind at the end. We have drilling all next week, and it's from 8 until 5:30, and it's going to be right outside my door. And so what I'm going to do, and I will post it and remind everybody, but I will be doing my 2 videos, my video on the 6th and my video on the 8th of May. I'm going to do them at 6 p.m. I will remind you, I will post it, but just to let you know, you can have your late coffee with me. You can put your feet up after supper and we can have our chat. All right. So between now and then, the weekend is upon us. The weather is trying to decide who it is and what it does. You know the drill. Be good to you. Show up for you. Don't phone it in. You deserve so much more than that. You do. And remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve, need, want, and love you too. All right? Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for sharing the journey. Thank you for showing up and not phoning it in. And I will catch you next time.